As they do every day, protesters at Barton Moss in central England go on a strange procession. But this is no walk in the park. Since November, these eco-activists and local residents have been trying to slow down trucks coming in and out of a drilling site run by Britain's Igas. Their action is against exploration work that could uncover shale gas reserves in this rural area.
And this is the biggest threat we've ever had to the land. At the end of the day, when they've actually finished doing what they're doing, the whole land's going to be contaminated.
All the water from the public's going to be poisoned with, with all the fracking, and we don't want that round here.
Such are the fears over a controversial technique already being used in some countries where this relatively new energy resource has been discovered. Hydraulic fracturing. Tons of litres of water mixed with sand and chemicals are injected into the ground at very high pressure to create cracks in the bedrock and extract the gas. The risk of water contamination is the main concern shared by environmentalists and British water treatment professionals. The exploration industry insists those risks can be eliminated with technical improvements and strict regulations. Helen Chunso, who lives near a drilling site, is among those who aren't convinced.
When you look at what water is pumped in, nobody knows exactly how much water is coming back out, although estimates seem to suggest that there's about 70% of the water that is staying in the ground. So that means that there is already contamination. Water travels through geological structures. There is no way that the industry can assure anybody that there are no fault lines. The industry is just after making a quick buck now, and to hell with the consequences for the local communities and the environment.
Contracts signed in January by French oil giant Total to explore the shale gas in the UK have fuelled fears sparked by the British government's declared intention to develop this controversial energy resource. Both Total and Igas, one of its partners in the deal, declined our repeated requests for an interview. The spokesman for the UK Onshore Operators Group explains why there's such an interest in shale.
The shale gas in the UK should be seen as an economic package in terms of import dependency reduction. So by 2030, about 80% of our gas will come from outside the UK. That brings with it price volatility. So producing indigenous sources of gas will reduce price volatility in the UK. If Europe produces enough gas, then supply and demand would suggest that the gas prices in Europe will go down just like they did in the US.
But that theory is contested. According to one independent expert, geological conditions, population density and the nature of the onshore market make it unlikely that a shale gas revolution would have prices in Europe as it has done in the US.
If you're going to get an increase in supply, for that to bring prices down, you have to have a lot of competition in the gas market. In the United States, that sort of competition existed and the price came down. The big players in Europe are not terribly competitive. To be perfectly honest, they'd rather collude than compete if they can get away with it, and therefore it's very unlikely that the big gas companies are going to leave money on the table for the consumer.
The International Association of Oil and Gas Producers says a new shale gas industry would not only reduce Europe's dependence on external suppliers, it could also create hundreds of thousands of jobs. But this claim is hotly disputed by Britain's Green Party.
There will be a wave of short-term employment, and then those jobs will disappear again, because once an area of ground is fracked and the gas underneath the shale has been released, that area is then useless to the fracking industry and the jobs will immediately disappear.
According to estimates, Europe has significant potential shale gas reserves. Several countries have given the green light for exploration. Others, here in red, have banned it over uncertainty about the environmental impact. There are particular concerns about possible methane emissions during the extraction and transportation of shale gas. For this energy and climate change expert, there are potential risks to EU commitments to reduce greenhouse gas emissions.
Shale gas is a high carbon energy source. it will add to the global amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. The only way out of that, to some degree, is if we use shale gas and it displaces coal, and we do not get the coal out of the ground. But at the moment, if we look in the US, where their emissions have come down a little bit, partly as a consequence of shale gas, that what we've found in the EU, and the UK, the EU, and some parts of Asia, our emissions have gone up because we've been burning the coal that the Americans have now exported. Climate change is a global problem. And if we get a new fossil fuel, we will see increased levels of climate change, increased environmental impacts.
We already know how to produce as much energy as we need, cleanly, sustainably, in a way that supports people, supports local environment, and that solution comes through renewable energy. That is absolutely the direction that we need to be moving in our energy policy and our energy industry, and fracking is a move in completely the wrong direction.
Other analysts also worry that the drive to exploit shale gas could undermine investment in renewable energy. For the head of US company Ecor, a partner in Total's shale gas exploration deals in the UK, the solution is political.
Natural gas could be the interim fuel to a new age of alternatives and renewables that are cost effective. But it's threatening to these technologies that there is a ubiquitous supply of fossil fuels at such a low cost. So I think the answer is embedded in what President Obama did, which is to tax these low-cost sources of low-emission fuel, namely natural gas, and use the proceeds of that to develop the new technology.
The EU has recently stepped back from creating common rules on the exploration and exploitation of shale gas. It has instead issued a series of mere recommendations. That seems to be at odds with public opinion. According to a European Commission survey carried out last year, people want uniform regulation.
Unfortunately, there is no mandatory, as you know, through the EU environmental impact assessment. I know a lot of people actually lobbied the EU and wrote to their MEPs about this. I wrote to my MEP. We're not looking at a democratic process of our MEPs representing our voices if they fail to act upon it in the EU.
The UK government is offering tax incentives to potential shale gas operators, as well as to councils that will accept exploration sites. Local communities, like Barton Moss, have yet to be convinced.
We will stay here as long as it takes, until Igas packs up and leaves.
Go play out loud. Go listen to the words of the Lord.